Hey and welcome, I'm Hammeh, and in this video I'm going to be going over some extra facts that have been confirmed by Blizzard and some things that you guys have mentioned from Overwatch's 10th digital comic, Reflections. I'm also going to try and answer some of your questions and share some more interesting information you guys raised in the comments from my first video. Links here below if you've not seen it already. Reflections was chock full of interesting references, reveals, questions and answers about Overwatch lore. There's one of me and 162,000 plus of you at least who watched the last vid, so you're a lot smarter than me. Lots of cool things you guys brought up, interesting questions. Suffice to say, this does contain massive spoilers for the comic. I'm pretty sure you've read it already if you're an Overwatch or lore fan, but if not, the link for the comic is in the description below. Go have a look at comic.playoverwatch.com or go and look at the media version over on Madefire. Then come back and let us know your thoughts. First thing that was confirmed by Blizzard in a statement on Twitter, Michael Chu, the lead writer or lead of story on Overwatch, said that Fara is not on a date. So in the kind of slice of life panels when we saw where the Overwatch heroes and villains indeed were at different times at Christmas, we saw Fara having a meal in maybe what looked to be Canada, given the Canadian flag and hockey on the background in the TV screen. Some people pointed out that they saw a ring on Fara's finger, on her pinky finger. Now, people don't know whether it's metal or iron or not, but apparently in Canada, students of engineering or STEM, science, tech, engineering and mathematics are given an iron ring on graduation that's typically worn on the pinky. It's all speculation at this point, but maybe that could hint to Fara having perhaps even studied in Canada before coming back to Egypt. Big thanks to Chibi Midget, Cashinate Crow and other people in the comments who flagged that one up. Also, apparently, Fara's not a Bruins fan. Sorry Bruins fans, you hockey fans are going to have to explain that reference to me. Last time I had any knowledge of hockey was when Jerome McGinley let me win lots of games of console NHL pretty easily. Hammeh Dad 76 aging there. Second thing that I didn't include in my first video, but I did note down, was that we saw in this comic that Tracer doesn't always need her chronal accelerator. Now, there were a lot of questions from you on this in the comments. It was confirmed by Blizzard on Facebook, Twitter and similar, and clarified a bit by Michael Chu. As long as it's near her, it's okay. It doesn't always have to be on her. And then there was a sentence saying that the specifics are more complicated, but she's fine at Emily's apartment and Winston's lab. So this kind of makes sense if we think about it. We did see in Tracer's origin trailer and story her in a time-shielded room, or some kind of very engineering-focused looking room. Pretty sure that when she was first diagnosed or when she first had her accident, this was probably where she stayed, and the room was some kind of shielded place fitted with the tech to kind of be able to keep her at this point in the timeline. Now, as time's gone on, I'm sure that Winston, having invented the portable chronal accelerator that we see Tracer wear, has improved and tinkered with this tech, and I think if it's portable, it can always be made to fit or cover an area as well. So that would explain Emily's apartment, maybe there's some kind of fixed device there, and Winston's laboratory, or indeed perhaps Overwatch bases. Maybe they have a fixed area in a similar fashion that Winston's made that Tracer can actually exist in. I do wonder how it all gets powered though. We know that fusion cores were a thing in Omniums, so maybe fusion is the way in the Overwatch universe nowadays and energy bills are really cheap, or perhaps Tracer's got a Winston approved power source. I can just picture Winston popping by Emily's flat to maybe fit some tech around it or something. Thirdly, we got a confirmation about where Reflections takes place in the timeline. Now apparently it's in the present, in quotes, post-recall, after the animated shorts and after Old Soldiers. Now we could have assumed most of this from the comic. Obviously at the very first image of the comic we see that the recall is active. The animated shorts is an interesting one to know if it happens after Reaper, Sombra and Widowmaker have hit Volskaya. Obviously in the comic we see all three of those people in different places. Talon clearly have some Christmas holidays off and also being after Old Soldiers. As far as timeline can only ever be present, I wouldn't worry too much about the quotation marks. Anything that we see is only the present until something else happens that moves it on. We've seen the Overwatch timeline move on, by the way, ever since the reveal cinematic 2 years ago. So when new things release, the timeline is moved on in subtle, small ways. The Old Soldiers part definitely makes sense, as in the Reflections comic we see that Ana and Jack are still teamed up, having gone to investigate what was going on in the Egyptian desert with the mercenary named Hakim, and after the confrontation with Reaper that brought the two back together. I did wonder if the background colour in the window here meant that they were still in or around someplace deserty. Obviously we knew they were in Egypt last, it reminded me of sand, but maybe a little bit of a stretch. What do you guys think? The fourth thing that I found that was pretty interesting was the detail in some of these panels, including Hanzo's cake. Now, in Hanzo's panel in the Slice of Life piece, we see him with a fairly nifty undercut and of course his nose piercing, which many of you commented on. Hanzo getting a little bit hipster, a bit of a change of image maybe after he's seen Genji in the Events of Dragons. Maybe he's deciding to, take a different direction in his life, including his dress. Who knows? Anyway, onto the cake. I did not know that in Japan, apparently a main Christmas tradition is Christmas cake, but it's not a fruit cake like our Western countries, more a light sponge cake with strawberries. Many of them have a chocolate message disc on top, common on Japanese cakes in general for writing stuff on instead of directly into the icing, and that's a really nice reference by artist Miki Montillo. A big thanks to everyone in the YouTube comments who mentioned that one, and also a big shout to Takei Sensei who wrote a cool thread about it on Reddit. A fifth point here, before I jump into your questions and a few random things, it was confirmed that specifically Tracer identifies as being lesbian. So that's been talked to death already by many people, myself concluded in my last video, but there you go, I know a few people had questions. Okay, time for a few little random facts and tidbits. Some translations came through from you guys in the comments. A lot of you said that the text by Diva in Korean said Diva's Winter Wonderland or Diva's Winterland, sort of in a commercial type sense. Does look like an advert. We know that Diva's got her own brand of drink and a few other things going on as well, so that totally makes sense. Thanks to all of you in the comments who shouted out that one. And the Russian around Zarya says new Omnic attacks or Omnic attacks in Siberia. We clearly are getting a continuing theme that the Omnic crisis, or the second Omnic crisis as it is continuing very much so in Russia. We've not seen so much as to what's going on in the rest of the world yet, but Russia keeps on being emphasised very recently in Sombra's short infiltration as well. Okay, on to some of your questions and points you raised from the comic. Now, some of you said, what's with Torbjorn's arm, or is it even Torbjorn? He's got both arms in the picture. I think that's a fairly simple one. We know that Torb's got a prosthetic, he's a pretty smart engineer. I would imagine that he probably has some kind of at-home hand or prosthesis, some kind of arm, and a few other options as well. I wouldn't be surprised if Torb has a few different attachments, shall we say. It's not always appropriate to have industrial-grade engineering equipment that can generate molten slag on your arm, especially around young children. Torbjorn being a bit safety conscious there, I think we can say it's him without too many challenges there. Another question you guys asked, now where was the Bastion image? Now in my last video I didn't make the shot look 100% great, so here's a better one. It's here on the floor near Torbjorn. Now the comic, if you look at it on the website or as a PDF, actually cuts this image in two. If you look on Madefire, the animated version of the comic here, it's more visible. So there you go, there's where Bastion is, and if you guys miss Symmetra in the comic, she is on the table in Modern Architect magazine in Emily's flat. So that's the explanation as to where those two characters are. Final question you guys asked, how did Tracer and Emily get to Gibraltar so fast? Well, Overwatch era transport, who knows, maybe they could be travelling pretty quickly in some other way, or just say it's the magic of Christmas. You cynics, you. While we're on the topic of travel, I do wonder how Soldier 76 has got around the world without being detected. He does a fair bit of international travelling from America to Mexico to Egypt, and he hasn't been caught by any police or law enforcement yet. Clearly there are a few issues with boundary controls in Overwatch's world as well. Thanks so much for tuning in to this little summary of 5 extra facts and a few of your questions and points about Overwatch's Reflections comic. I really enjoyed it. If you like this video, do throw it a like, sub, comment, let me know what Overwatch lore topics you'd like me to cover next. I'd really love to hear your thoughts. If you do like lore and if you do like this comic and all of these kind of things, please do look up my other videos. I go through hero lore, voice lines and interactions, world lore, map lore. I analyse all of the comics and animated shorts and talk about other lore topics as well and break them down in easy ways in my Lore Bites series. So if you like Overwatch Lore and Story, please do check out my channel and all of the different playlists. I've linked a bunch in the description below and the main comment. My Hero Lore Voice Lines and Interaction series is going to return just after Christmas, so thank you very much for your patience for that. I'm going to be winding down a bit for the holidays for the next day or two. There will be a few videos in the next week, and I hope you all have a fantastic holidays, fantastic Christmas and everything that you're up to. I'll catch you soon. I've been Hammeh. Take it easy.